You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up.
Well, hello there, zombie. How are you? I haven't heard from you in a while. Yes, I heard about that. So what do you think? Yep, so do I. That is good. Yeah, it is very good for families and friends, and it will definitely help with the morale over there. I'm really surprised they're doing something like this, and I do wish they would, kind of expand on this a little bit more. But, we'll take what we can, baby steps. Well, yeah, I've heard some good stuff about the J Player 6. But, yes. Making phone calls from your J Player is a very good idea. And it does cut back on those long lines at the telephone, yeah. And may give you a little bit of privacy, too. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Securus and how that company makes money off the incarcerated people and their families. It's like toilet paper. You're going to sell toilet paper no matter what, unless it's crappy toilet paper, just terrible. And people are going to need it, and they're going to need food, they're going to need clothing, they're going to need homes, and these are things that are always going to make money. There certain art supplies and movies and things like that aren't always really appealing to people, and companies like that could go bankrupt because they're just not providing a service that people need. But phone calls from and to prison, why they're doing that? Cell phone companies, they have plans where you can get unlimited text messaging, unlimited internet, unlimited calls for a monthly fee, and maybe even a contract. And I don't see why Securus doesn't do that. JPay is something that helps in the morale and rehabilitation of some of the people that are locked up in there. And punishing people by taking away this service and charging exorbitant fees per, I could see them do that if somebody didn't have the plan. Charge per text message if you're not on the plan. But if you get on a plan and pay a monthly fee and you can get unlimited, that's a very good deal. Right. It is good for the kids. It is. And offering free stamps every month and reducing the cost of telephone calls and giving people a free player so they can make telephone calls, that's a good step in the right direction. Although I would not want something like that permanently. I don't like the idea of charging per email and charging per minute on the phone calls. Well, we will. We'll get out there and we'll lobby. We're really trying to shoot for free, but I would accept a monthly fee because this is a business, a private business, and they do need to pay their employees and make a living. Except
you have 60 seconds remaining.
It's just stupid, absolutely stupid, that they charge so much money and they make billions off the misery of other folks. Okay, I'll give you that. It is what it is, and as long as the government doesn't really oppose it, and the public doesn't really know what's going on, it will continue. What are we going to do?
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Well, phone calls are not free, but within the next few weeks or so, you should be able to make some free phone calls. So maybe we can talk more. That's what I'm saying. It would be nice if you didn't have to worry about that so much. But for now, we'll make do with what we got. Okay, baby doll. Thanks for the call. And you take care of yourself. Okay. Welcome to AQS Inmate Call, and I am your host, Joel Wilborn. This recording took a while to complete because during my little phone call, I got a real phone call from Marianne. And you can check out her 2 interviews on YouTube under Oxyword. Now, how's that for a plug? Now, it's kind of interesting, too, because when Marianne and I talk, we don't have those restrictions of paying for the phone call. She can call me, and it's just regular cell phone fees, our monthly fees and stuff. And then her institution where she's housed, they don't charge her per call. She just needs to find an available phone call. So the state and donations and stuff, they can help take care of that kind of cost. And that's good. And she has really improved, and her attitude is really good. And, of course, during the call, I told her, I said, yeah, you just interrupted my podcast. However, it was about the new program they have where they're offering some free services and discounted services for the Securus technologies. And she apologized, of course, but she didn't know I was making the podcast. But she likes that idea. And when she does eventually go back to prison, this is something that should be in full effect, and she should be able to send out some emails on JPay and make some phone calls at least once or twice a month without worrying about costs. And I know there's a few people that they'll send me a JPay and say, this is my last stamp. Or I can't talk to my friends and family because I don't have any stamps. Could you give me some stamps? And that really just breaks my heart. If you want a person to succeed, social relationships are probably your best bet. And there's this old phrase, or an old saying, I should say, where it's not what you know, but who you know. And in this particular case, that really applies. Because you could know a lot of people, and one of those folks could have a lead on a good job, or could know somebody who knows somebody who has a program to help people get back into society. And I like the idea of promoting social relationships and networking. I'm not a big fan of the social media, even though I use it a lot, because it can be misused and abused. Yet, when it comes to phone calls, usually when a person calls somebody and that person picks up and they have a conversation, it's very helpful, or it resolves something. And yes, on the other side, it could create more problems. But in the long run, it's good to be able to talk to family members without worrying about money. We often hear the phrase, when a single mom has to make the decision of getting medicine or buying food. Both of them are necessary. And if you only have enough money for one, it's a tough call. And not everybody has that decision to make. And we have to feel sorry for folks like that. And a lot of the people who are in prison or who know people who are in prison have been through that, where I don't want to give up the medicine and I don't want to give up the food, so I'm going to sell drugs or I'm going to commit some other crime. And when I look at social relationships and communicating with family members and loved ones, it shouldn't come down to that. Should I buy food or should I buy stamps so I can send a message to my incarcerated loved one? Or should I sit here wondering what's going on and being miserable because I don't have the money to buy phone time so that my loved one could call me? Why should somebody have to make that decision? Why should that even be a concern in these matters? And another thing is the punishment. You know, if you're going to punish a person, there's many different ways of doing it. Blocking them from sending emails and blocking them from talking on the phone, I think that's cruel and unusual punishment. Imagine your teenage daughter breaks house rules, rules you set up for her. And as part of her punishment, you take away her cell phone. Now, in the world of Securus and the DOC, that's an acceptable punishment. That's something that would teach these people a lesson. Now, if your daughter is very depressed and she feels better talking to folks and sending text messages and sharing photos and just being on the phone, communicating with the world, and that just makes her feel happy and helps her cope with things, then your punishment goes beyond just teaching her a lesson. And if you have open communication in your family and your daughter tells you, please don't take the phone, I want to talk to my best friend. And she and I have a very good relationship, and I really feel good when I talk to her. And when I'm depressed, it's nice to have somebody who listens to me. That's something you don't take lightly. If your teenage daughter tells you that, there's meaning in it. And you would know your daughter well enough to know if she's lying to you about it, trying to manipulate you. Hopefully you would. And so you would have to rethink that, maybe just have her grounded, or maybe limit the phone and just say, okay, you can have the phone for an hour each night. And, your daughter would have to understand she did break the rules and she is being punished. And this is not your fault, it's hers. And she has to take responsibility for that. That's part of the learning process. Now, with the prison system, they're in prison not just to be kept away from society, which is where we kind of put the period. You're locked up for committing this crime, period. No, there's more to it. We want rehabilitation. We want the person to come out a better person. We want to take away the motivation that put the person in there in the first place. And supportive relationships are part of the healing process. So punishing people by taking away their communication with the people who support them and who offer them advice and who will look things up for them, no. You can't do that. So I would like to fight that. I'd like to fight using that as leverage or a pawn. We should promote family relationships, community relationships, networking. So if your government officials tell you that they support families, they support loved ones, they support healing and coping with trauma, and they promote that to the umph, yet behind the scenes they're blocking people from talking to folks, talking to their family members, talking to people who can give them good advice, can help guide them through the process. That to me is hypocrisy. And that's not what we should be looking for anywhere. And we can't just have one solution for every problem. We have to look at everything on an individual basis. Some people are so distant, so independent, that taking away the phone isn't even a punishment for them. And so we have to look at what would help them see the error of their ways. And then there's others where it's just devastating to take it away like that. And so we need to figure out, is it worth it to do that? And I especially don't think people on the outside should be punished. They should not be torn away from JPay or the telephone or letters. So, instead of charging exorbitant fees and making a big profit off of other people suffering and trying to navigate through all this pain and sorrow, I think we should do a little bit more than just offer some free services and stuff. In my opinion, they shouldn't be charged for phone calls. They shouldn't be charged for emails. You know, if I send an email through Yahoo, I'm not paying for that to get to the other side. And my recipient isn't paying to get it to me. A lot of those services, those email services, are free. Of course, they're getting, they're selling personal information and stuff. So they're making big money off of it. But for us, we're not. And so are we paying for extra privacy? No, of course not. We're just paying to give them money. It's like gambling. We're just throwing money away. And they're just reaping it. They're just scooping it all up and loving it. And that's wrong. And we need to get that out there. It's just wrong. Don't do that. There are better ways to do it, and there are more productive ways to do it. And that's what we need to look at. So, I ask that you open up a form of communication. Why don't you go to Oxyword? Listen to some of the interviews and come up with some questions to ask these folks that are locked up. Open up a JP account. I know in the state of Washington, for $2, you can get 6 stamps. So you can open up a JPay account, buy $2 worth of stamps, and you can at least start a communication. You can write a little email, send it to somebody, and then that person could send a reply to you. And you might think, I like this. I want to keep it going. You can buy more stamps. And then the incarcerated person will be able to get some free stamps here and there in the state of Washington, and probably some other states too. And then keep sending you stuff. And in some cases, them just sending you stuff is the best. So what I'm looking at is at least try it. Jump on board, see what you think. Is this going to help them or not? And maybe let us all know. Let the person you're talking to know, this is dumb. This is not working. I think we can do other things. At least get involved. If you want to stop crime in your community, if you want to stop it in your state, if you want to stop it in the nation, we're going to have to find the source. And most of the sources like poverty or addiction or just trauma in the family, and this is their way of lashing out. There could be 1,000 different reasons for it. Not that they're just evil people who want to cause pain and sorrow for people. That's just a small percentage of the people that's locked up. The bigger picture varies. And the more we investigate that, the more we fund that part of the lockup. You know, it's not just keeping them out of the community, it's also helping them get back into the community. And communicating with people is a good way to do it. So take a look at those videos. Open up a communication forum. You know, it's a minor thing to do that could have a major implication. Thanks for tuning in, and please get involved. Let's stop crime. Let's help these people get back on the straight and narrow. And go out, have yourself a wonderful day, and make beautiful memories for tomorrow.